also on the 5 rockets. So the U.S. Force protection measures engaged those rockets, and then apparently they hit one of them, or you didn't engage the other ones. You just wanted to engage that specific 4th one.
Yeah, as we look at, just going back, the force protection CRAM did work. It did engage and had effect on the one, and then one did land in an area, and it was not effective.
So it didn't you didn't intercepted that one, right?
That is correct. We intercepted one, and it was effective.
Okay.
The CRAM was effective. Good morning. U.S. military operations in Afghanistan continue, with our primary focus on the safety and security of the troops who remain in Kabul. On Sunday, U.S. military forces conducted an unmanned over-the-horizon airstrike on a vehicle known to be an imminent ISIS-K threat. This self-defense strike successfully hit the target near Kabul airport. Significant secondary explosions from the targeted vehicle indicated the presence of a substantial amount of explosive material. At approximately 11 p.m. Eastern Time last night, as many as 5 rockets were fired at the Kabul airport. U.S. military forces successfully employed our force protection measures to thwart that attack. Over the weekend and into today, evacuation operations continued. Yesterday, 26 U.S. military aircraft, all C-17s, departed with approximately 1,200 evacuees. In total, there were 28 flights out of Kabul airport in the last 24 hours, which included the remaining coalition departures. The mission of the evacuation operation was to help as many people as possible leave Afghanistan.
The CRAMs, did they strike and hit all of the 5 rockets, or did some land in areas where there are just no casualties?
So we can assess the reporting from last night's rocket attack. We assessed that 5 rockets were in the air and went. 3 landed off the airfield, were no effect, and CRAM was able to effect and thwart the attack of one, and the other rocket landed with no effect to the mission or any danger to our personnel.
Could you both speak to the continuing rocket threat to the final planes that are leaving and the role that the CRAM is playing? Will the CRAM be left behind, or since it's so vital to protecting the planes as they're leaving, what will happen to the CRAM?
And what I will tell you, without getting into specific systems and their availability, which I think you can understand why we wouldn't, we continue to have and will maintain the capability to protect ourselves and defend ourselves as we continue to complete the retrograde. And I think that's probably the best place to put it. Jen?
John, General Taylor, you just said that one rocket landed with no effect to the mission. You mean it landed inside the airport perimeter, but it did not affect the mission?
It landed inside the perimeter and had no effect whatsoever.
And these ISIS-K fighters or planners that you have targeted with drone strikes in the last few days, are any of them, were they released from the Bagram prison or from Pulicharki prison? Were they known combatants who were inside those prisons?
I don't think we have that information. We are operating under the assumption that we need to be prepared for future potential threats. And as the general detailed for you in his opening statement, there was, in fact, after we took this airstrike against this vehicle, there were rocket attacks, indirect fire rocket attacks on the airport. So the threat stream is still real, it's still active, and in many cases it's still specific, and we're taking it very seriously, and we will right up until the end.
Beijing has come out with a new South China Sea policy, which forces people to self-identify while approaching their self-claimed maritime territories. This policy reportedly goes into effect on Wednesday. Does DoD plan on following that policy?
I haven't seen this report, Carla, so I'm not going to take it from the podium right now.
I understand the congressional people are being briefed that you're starting to destroy munitions as well as equipment.
At Kabul? Yeah, you know, what I go back to is you know, commanders on the ground retain that authority and the capability to remove or destroy equipment and weapons to ensure that those don't fall into the hands of anybody else.
Well, are we going to get an accounting of what has been destroyed, let's say Blackhawks or other equipment?
Time's not right for that right now, Tom. Being with our national security interest and help prevent attacks on the homeland. We still have that capability. We will use that capability. There will probably become a time when we can be more forthcoming. Now's not that time. And we've used the word dynamic a lot, and I know that sounds like Pentagon speak, but that's really the best way to describe the threats we're facing. Dynamic, moving, fluid, quick, because that's how ISIS-K operates. We have to try to be as quick and as nimble as they are.
And also, if you can clarify when the deadline will come into effect, like Kabul time, August. It's a little bit confusing.
No, fair. This is, I'm not going to get into it. But what's not going to end is our commitment, especially here at the Defense Department, to protect the American people from threats, and particularly from any terrorist threat that could emanate from Afghanistan again. We do have an effective over-the-horizon counterterrorism capability. We've employed it now twice, and that capability will remain. And obviously, we're not going to detail what it looks like on any given day against any particular threat, but we're going to maintain that capability to protect the American people from threats that could emanate from Afghanistan. And it's also important to remember that the counterterrorism threat isn't just in Afghanistan. It's in the Levant. It's in North Africa. I mean, and you guys have all seen that. And we are going to still maintain that ability to thwart those threats as best we can. And over the horizon is not something new to us either. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time in places outside Afghanistan. Yeah. Abraham.
That over-horizon ability for strike and for ISR, is that still coming from Gulf bases, or are you making progress with regional partners for that over-horizon?
It comes from over the horizon, Abraham, and I'm not going to go into more detail on that.
Being made?
As we have seen all too vividly in the last day, the threat remains high and it remains real.
The commanders that are fulfilling this last part of this mission have all the assets they need in the air and on the ground and where they're at to complete the mission safely.
2 weeks ago, you guys were...
Non-combatant evacuation operations are dangerous, period.
There's an American hostage still being held by the Taliban. Has the Taliban agreed to release Mark Frerichs before the U.S. leaves?
Without getting into specifics, Jen, I can tell you that we share the entire government's concerns over Mr. Frerichs and our strong desire to see him returned home to his family where he belongs. And there has been a concerted effort over many, many months to try to achieve that outcome. And regardless of what we do over the next day or so, we will remain, all of us will remain focused on returning him safely to his family. That's not going to change one way or the other.